Welcome to Buffalo Campday Recap, practice number 5 for the Bills at St. John Fisher on this Friday. I'm Thad Brown along with AJ Feldman. We had our first injury news of camp today. Doesn't appear to be serious, but Micah Hyde went down on a play where Stefon Diggs was going over the middle, a medium intermediate type dig route, and Josh Allen missed the throw high and in front of Diggs, so it was overthrown and really wasn't a play he was going to make a catch on. Hyde had the interception. As he's going up in the air to make the catch, Diggs makes some contact with him, and Hyde goes down hard. He landed on his belly, extended fully out, stayed on the ground. Immediately, Jordan Poyer came over, and within a couple seconds was calling for trainers. Hyde was on the ground for about a minute or so. He was able to get up and walk off under his own power, but had a really significant limp. After standing on the sideline for maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, the Bills put him on a cart, and actually, they didn't put him on a cart. Hyde walked to the cart himself. He sat down in the passenger seat and was driven away. So in the world of getting carted off, it was about as good a situation or as unserious a situation as you can get. It was still a carting off. Officially, the Bills said after practice that Hyde has a hip and glute area injury. It was on the right side, and he is still being evaluated. Again, AJ, my gut reaction is that doesn't appear that serious. I'd be stunned if he practices on Saturday, but the Bills might have dodged a bullet here.
Yeah, definitely. And we both saw the play, and initially when he kind of dropped the interception, it got deflected away. We kind of thought he was just mad at himself down on the ground. So it wasn't like an ugly fall. It was, nothing twisted, nothing, looked out of sorts until a little bit later. In fact, just after he was still down there, we thought maybe he just got, the wind knocked out of him, fell on the ball or something like that. So in terms of looking like a bad injury, it didn't really look like that. But still, anytime, you have a guy like Micah Hyde leave practice, go early, like you said, get driven off in a cart, certainly a concern. But at this point, we're not thinking it's going to be anything too crazy right now.
Yeah, and I will say from Diggs' point of view, it was a play where he was not going to make a catch. Now, in a game, that type of play that Diggs is making is 100% a football play. He's trying to separate the defender from the ball to prevent an interception. In this setting, in a training camp, I understand there's a bit of a knee-jerk where, play happens, you want to play football. But there were no pads, there was no hitting. This is the first team. These are both veterans, guys who should know better. Diggs did the wrong thing today, in my opinion. I mean, making contact on that play, again, he had no chance to make the catch. The only thing he's going to do there is perhaps break up the meaningless interception in a practice situation. So there was no reason for him to make contact. And although he didn't hit Hyde, the contact there certainly, sent Hyde in a position where he's not going to be able to catch himself or he's not landing comfortably. So, Diggs did the wrong thing today. Look, I don't think they're going to cut him. Pretty sure that's not going to happen.
I can take that bet if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, minus 85 million.
Yes.
But, Diggs did not behave as you would like your veteran players to behave in that play.
But I will say this, as much as you said everything was true, if everybody just walked off from that play no matter what, nobody would have said after practice, oh, this play happened where Diggs made contact. We were lucky to avoid that. There was certainly some contact, but it wasn't anything super egregious where, we would be probably talking about it after the fact if nobody walked away, I would say.
Let me ask you quick. Later on in practice, there was a play where Ed Oliver got close to Josh Allen's knees, and Allen went doon. Nobody was hurt, though. We are talking about that play after practice, are we not?
That's Josh Allen, so
Micah Hyde is not that far from Josh, maybe a little bit, but you know what I mean.
Certainly, yeah, but let knees and bodies around the QB's knees is one thing, but I think in hindsight that would have just it was also a bit of a bad throw and underthrow, so just going up for the ball itself would have created that sort of contact. So you don't want to see that out of Diggs, but. Maybe they are having a little bit of a chat with him, but nothing too crazy, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a play that Diggs is going to make a catch on. I don't think it did not appear like he was even coming close to making a play on the ball. He was just making contact with a guy in practice. And again, heat of the moment, I get it, but you want your veterans to be smarter than that. All right, beyond that at practice, I already kind of threw out the Josh Allen scare. I tweeted out the first words were Josh went down, and people, almost melted down. I think I had to pick up a lot of Twitter followers off the floor after they saw those 3 words. But yeah, it was a play where, I don't think Ed Oliver at all was coming close to even, in the vicinity of being dangerous. He might have gotten pushed there. But just anytime the quarterback is on the ground, especially the starting quarterback, it is noteworthy. As for the actual football today, the offensive line was missing 4 starters. Deion Dawkins, as we found out later, was excused for personal reasons. And then both guards, Roger Saffold, Ryan Bates, who did not practice on Wednesday, not at practice at all today. And Spencer Brown, as he has been through the first week, is working individually but not in the team drill. So Josh Allen was out there with Mitch Morse and the second team offensive line. And if you're wondering how it looked pretty much how you think it might look. It wasn't very good most of the day. There were multiple snaps where Josh was just running for his life. A lot of scrambles, a lot of sacks, a lot of holds, a few nice plays. I will say that there was one scenario or one sequence where Allen was running for his life, throwaway, and then under some pressure threw a really sweet ball to Dawson Knox on the sideline between 2 defenders, and Knox dropped it. At least the 3rd drop for Knox in this camp that I've counted. And, for a guy that seemed to, push that issue aside a lot last year, it has certainly reared its ugly head early in this training camp.
Yeah, that's one thing. And then O.J. Howard, I think, has been kind of maybe the training camp disappointment so far. I don't think he's made it too much of a name for himself so far. He did have one play kind of in the flat where he either he slipped out of his route a little bit, then he ended up dropping it. He did come back with a nice reception later in practice, but both tight ends have kind of had their issues so far. Other observations for myself from practice, anytime you watch Von Miller, there's a chance you see something incredible, especially with the linemen that are out there today. There was one play I watched him against Tommy Doyle, and it was ugly. It was Tommy Doyle against Von Miller. Von went for a bit of a bull rush, and somehow Tommy Doyle just ended up on his butt. Like it was bad. So just the Von Miller, he stands out even when you watch him in shirts and shorts. That's another thing. And then I did I watched Isaiah McKenzie. He had a real nice rep against Cam Lewis. I was isolating that matchup, and I saw McKenzie break off the line super clean. Cam Lewis didn't even touch him. I'm like, wow, am I reading this right, or is this going to be a touchdown? And as soon as Allen tossed him for a touchdown, so a nice play from McKenzie there. He's done some good things in the slot so far this training camp.
Just to kind of finish up with the offensive struggles, at the end of practice, the offense tried to drive the length of the field, and the Bills got to 1st and goal at the 7. And through penalties, they had 7 chances to score. First team offense against a defense that was kind of a mix of first and second team. And the only time they scored was the last snap on a Josh Allen run. So not very good from the pass game. I will say the bright spot in that sequence was Kyer Elam won 2 passes that were thrown at Stefon Diggs. Diggs did not catch either one in the end zone. One, it seemed like Elam pulled the ball away, was able to, create a pass breakup. The second one, he had good coverage. Diggs ran a bit of a back shoulder route to where if Josh Allen and Diggs connect, it's a touchdown. I don't care who the defensive back is. But regardless, Elam had 2 balls thrown his way with the play being snapped from inside the 10, and neither were completed. So both were good for the rookie corner today.
Yeah, and the past 2 days of practice where I wasn't at practice, it seemed like the Kyer Elam versus Stefon Diggs is turned into the main attraction. I would say from what I've read and what I've seen today is that I think the coaching staff is pretty pleased with what they've seen from Kyer Elam so far.
I think that's fair. I think we had the boxing gloves, couple of snaps on Wednesday, but I thought he had a solid day today. Any lingering resentment was gone on one of the plays where Elam broke up a pass to Diggs. He picked Diggs up off the ground like they were buddies, as they should be his teammates. So I agree. I think today was a solid day for Elam, and he did 3 in a row that were somewhere between fine to good. So progress there.
Yeah, especially where we keep watching Trey White on the sidelines, updating whatever drill he's doing. A good sign for Kyer Elam starting off a practice well so far. Well, today was a specialist day of practice, a very fun day for everybody. Reed Ferguson, our 2 punters, Tyler Bass, Matthew Smiley, the whole gang up at the podium today. The whole gang, everybody's favorite Friday. And, this, as much as we joke about specialist day, this is a really interesting specialist battle. You've got, Matt Araiza, the Punt God, maybe the most hype ever coming out of a punter since maybe Ray Guy. I don't know what the buzz around Ray Guy was in I
don't know if Ray Guy had buzz at all. There wasn't even buzz anywhere when Ray Guy came out.
Exactly. But you've got this very hyped punter in Matt Araiza. He gets drafted. And then the polar opposite, Matt Hawk, a veteran punter who, by all accounts, struggled punting the ball last year. There was some tough weather. He dealt with the difficulties there, but kept around for his holding prowess. Tyler Bass was having a great season. So now you've got this really interesting training camp battle. And, I got to talk to Matt Araiza today about dealing with, the pressure, working with Matt Hawk, and just a good conversation with him about how this training camp punting battle is shaping out. After a record-breaking college career, the punt god, Matt Araiza, is now looking to make a new name for himself as the Bills punter.
It's been a dream since I was a kid, and I always knew that when you make it to the NFL, it's competition.
His competition is the incumbent Matt Hawk, and Araiza isn't far removed from his last camp battle. Recruited as both a kicker and punter, it wasn't until his final season with the Aztecs that he earned the punting duties.
There wasn't a single year at San Diego State that a job was given to me, so competition is something I'm used to and definitely ready for, and I'm just ready to go out there and do my best.
Since he was the kicker in college, holding for field goals is one of the biggest concerns for Araiza. He never did it before this year, but that kicking experience also gives him an advantage.
I kind of understand what a kicker wants more, and I've been in their shoes and understand the importance of holding, so I think it's somewhat of a natural progression.
As the two Mets battled out in the punting competition, special teams coordinator Matthew Smiley has been really impressed at how Hawk has handled himself through the competition, still answering Araiza's questions and giving him advice. Hawk's birthday was earlier this week on Monday, and it's actually something Smiley made sure to write in his birthday card.
I can't speak enough to the type of human being it takes to know you are fighting for your job and you're still willing to do the right thing when it comes to interacting with somebody.
As the fourth specialist drafted and the only one still fighting for his job, Araiza says he doesn't feel pressure to live up to his divine nickname, adding, quote, "This year is more about proving people wrong than proving people right." And then one kind of the interesting, very side notes about the whole Matt Araiza thing. He is one of the few players of Mexican descent in the NFL. About 0.5% of the players, depending on what statistic you look at. And I did ask him about it. He said he is very proud of his Mexican heritage and kind of increasing, the population in the NFL ranks. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this training camp battle shakes out down the line.
One of the things about the holder competition, which is fascinatingly become one of the fascinating parts of the punter battle. There have been some people who have talked to myself and other reporters through the offseason about why does the punter hold? Why can't? Because back in the day when we all grew up, it was often a backup quarterback. You wanted someone with hands, maybe a receiver. And now 32 out of 32 teams have the punter hold. I mean, even in college football, it might be 130 whatever out of 130 whatever Division I teams have the punter hold. And Matthew Smiley talked today about an interesting thing that happens when you get to the NFL in terms of how the punters are, what makes them much more qualified to be a holder.
The punters are so athletic in the NFL that there is very little trade-off, if any, when it comes to a punter holding and a quarterback holding. So it's mainly just the access that the kicker and the snapper have to the punters to be able to work and get all those extra reps.
When Tyler Bass was asked about what he's looking for in a holder, he's like, look, the guy's got to put the ball on the spot every time. And you can't be this far off. Tyler pointed out that if the ball is too far back, then the ball can be popped up in terms of the kick. If it's too far to the right, then you kind of toe the ball a little bit. You don't hit it accurately. So the job of the holder is simply have the laces out, obviously, but put the ball on the spot where the kicker wants it every single time. And he said so far, both guys are doing really well with that. And I'm not going to sit here and handicap the holder competition. I don't know how the heck we do that. But it is certainly going to be a part of this punting competition. Although Matt Smiley also said that the number one thing that determines who the punter is the punting, which I guess would make sense.
Yeah. And Reed Ferguson, we got the chance to talk to him after practice. Other than, those two guys being different, everything else is pretty darn constant with them. They're both left-footed punters. They're both similar in stature, so, the area where they would want their hold to be is pretty the same. So it definitely makes his job a little bit easier. He did talk about kind of the pressure of, making sure it's an even playing field for the two. So as the most experienced veteran player on the team, one less thing he's got to worry about in training camp this year.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time today talking with Reed about the fact that he is now the longest tenured Bill, like you said. And although this was not asked, I imagine the Bills might keep him around to just be that guy who can still say, I remember what it was like before Sean McDermott, back in the drought, when it wasn't always like this, guys. This is the guy that makes everybody appreciate it. He's basically the grandpa of the team right now. I'm sure he appreciates me referring to him that way. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of Buffalo Camp Day Recap. Remember, you can find it every single day there is a practice. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can watch us at rochesterfirst.com. We'll be back again here tomorrow. It'll be me and Carl Jones tomorrow. Pads on tomorrow, that's right.
Yeah.
Finally get to have some hitting. 5 days of no pads. You forget that's how you actually play football these days.
Maybe
with
that's
pads.
why we were so angsty today.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for the pads.
hopefully there'll be less injuries tomorrow. All right, until then, for AJ Feldman, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks for watching and listening.